And this.
He scored!
And this.
Oh, boy, what a move by Embiid!
You think of us. We are sports. 97.3 ESPN, WENJ, WENJ HD, Millville, Atlantic City, a town square media station. This is Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app. Now, live from the Matt Black Kia Studios.
What a move!
Here's Josh Hennig.
Friday edition of Game Night. The Phillies keep on traveling on this road trip as they've won 8 out of 10. Josh Hennig hanging out with you. Also, the U.S. Open is going on right now. We'll get to the latest on the U.S. Open. Wes Reynolds, he is the host of the Long Shots podcast, and he also he's a golf betting analyst for VSiN. We'll get his perspective on the U.S. Open as, you know, this course played very easily for a lot of guys yesterday. We'll see what they are going to do going into the weekend. It's a little cloudy over there, it looks like right now. So we'll get the latest on the U.S. Open, Phillies baseball this weekend. As always, you can join the conversation at 609-403-0973. That is the text board. Also, your DMs into the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Seattle. You know, we ran the poll question at 973 ESPN, okay? I'm going to get you a little Phillies news that just dropped a couple minutes ago momentarily here. So this news might change a little bit what the Phillies do moving forward. I'll get to that momentarily. But we ran a poll question. And I know Mike Gill and I have been arguing about this, not really arguing, but debating it for the last few days now about what is more important. So we ran the poll question at 973 ESPN. And the poll question goes like this, all right? I'm going to pull up the exact question so I can read it properly, all right? So we asked the question at 973 ESPN about the Phillies. What is the Phillies' top priority? Is it adding a fifth starting pitcher, another pitcher who could be the 2 or 3 starter for this team, or a right-handed bat with power? Now, I had said add a number 2 or 3 starter. I want to add another starting pitcher so that the Phillies can have more depth going into the postseason. Mike Gill has taken the position of the right-handed bat to basically replace Rhys Hoskins. Well, the poll is not going the way any of us thought. 57% say add the 5th starter. 33% agree with me and say add the number 2 or 3 starting pitcher. And only 9% say add the right-handed bat. Now, how much of that is because a lot of you Philly fans out there look at this team and you say they don't need offense, they're fine? How much recency bias goes into that answer? You know, this is the Phillies team that offensively is averaging 5.7 runs per game in the month of June so far. They've scored 39 runs in the last 5 games alone. So there's the reason why some people are voting that way is that because you look at the offense and say they don't need any more help offensively. They need other things. Because guess what? Ranger Suarez in his last 4 starts has like a 1.65 ERA. Taijuan Walker in his last 5 starts has a 1.95 ERA in those starts. The pitching has been doing its job. It's just that optically, there's 2 problems. One, when you see Aaron Nola give up a bunch of runs yesterday, it makes you sweat and get nervous. And 2, when you don't know who's going to start every fifth day, a little concerning. There's a party that kind of looks around, you're like, what's going on here, guys? What are we doing? The Phillies don't have a ton of depth. And even though the Phillies have not officially confirmed who's going to start on Saturday yet, which is crazy because the game is literally tomorrow. But they did make a move today, which is very interesting. The Phillies have recalled Christian Pache from his rehab assignment and reinstated him from the 10-day injured list. To make room for him on the roster, Dalton Guthrie has been optioned to AAA following yesterday's games. This move is retroactive to yesterday. So the Phillies are telling you that they still value having a right-handed hitter. They still want to have that guy who's going to fill in for Brandon Marsh here and there. So they're bringing Pache back. They're sending Guthrie down to the minors. Now, moving forward, does that mean that we have an idea of what the Phillies are going to do at the deadline? I don't know if it's definitive. I think Dombrowski is keeping everything close to the vest right now. For whatever reason, the Phillies seem very content to just ride this wave right now. And I'm not necessarily saying that they're okay with Matt Strom, Christian Sanchez, Bailey Falter, or any of these guys, Dylan Covey. I'm not saying they're okay with these guys as is. I think the problem is for the Phillies that they realize they have limited resources. And they don't want to burn through all their resources, like in the minor leagues, for example, getting small-time players. I think for the Phillies, part of the reason why they're playing this long game is because when you look at their minor league system, they have a lot of questions. And me and Mike Gill were talking about this earlier today on the Sports Bash about how, I got to pull up the list again. You look at the Phillies minor league system, you realize that there is a serious, and I mean serious, lack of options at the minor league level to bring up. Because the problem is that you have Andrew Painter, Mick Abel, Griff McGarry. They're 1, 2, 3 as your top prospects. Your fourth best prospect is Justin Crawford. He's 19 years old. According to MLB Pipeline, Mick Abel is still a year away from coming to the majors. Their fifth best prospect is Hao-Yu Lee. He's a second baseman. He's 2 years away from coming up. If you go through the top 10 prospects, only 4 of them are considered ready for the major leagues. 4 out of 10. So if you're the Phillies, how do you decide between who are you going to wait on, how long are you going to wait, and who you think is ready to come up and start benefiting you now or next year, or who you going to trade? Because again, if only 3 of the guys in your top 10, according to MLB Pipeline, are ready for the major leagues, and then you go 11 through 20, there's only 3 guys on that list too. So 6 out of your top 20 prospects, according to MLB Pipeline, are ready for the majors. That's a problem. And I think that's part of the Phillies conundrum. They feel like they have to rebuild a minor league system that was in ill repair when Dave Dombrowski got here. I think that the Phillies are going to have to make some tough decisions over the next several weeks. They're going to have to decide how badly they want to win this year and how important it is to them to be in a position to have young talent in the future. Look, none of these guys are getting younger. Harper, Schwarber, they're getting older. These guys, Harper's already banged up. Schwarber, I mean, he's not the most fleet of foot as we've seen in the outfield, right? The young guys on this team are Marsh, Bohm, Stott. Everyone else is pretty much getting older. So for the Phillies, they have to make a decision. How important it is to win right now and how important it is to plan for the future. And I tend to lean toward hey, unless you know someone is a stone cold lead pipe lock to be a good baseball player at the major league level, then I consider trading it. Mick Abel is supposedly a year away, right? If you have an opportunity to upgrade your team with a real serious big time player, do you give up Mick Abel? I'm Josh Hennig asking you here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN FM and 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. How much are you willing to give up to win now if you are a Phillies fan? Let me know. 609-403-0973. That's the text board. Also, your DMs in the 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank of Sea Isle. I made the comment earlier to Mike Gill on the Sports Bash that if you're telling me I can get a guy like Paul Goldschmidt, MVP award winner, one of the best right-handed sluggers in all of baseball, if you're telling me you can get that guy, then yeah, I'm willing to listen about trading Mick Abel. I'm willing to listen to about trading a 19-year-old Justin Crawford. I'm willing to listen about trading a guy like Carlos De La Cruz. I mean, do we look at a guy like Simone Musiotti and think he's going to be anything anytime soon? And if not, why not trade him? I mean, the guy's tearing up in the minor leagues, is Musiotti. Why not move on? You can get something good for him. And again, I mean something like, wow, this guy is really going to be an upgrade. You're not trading these guys for some, average pitcher who's going to just be a depth guy in the back of your rotation, who's going to be in your bullpen in the postseason. But if you're telling me you can go big time, Paul Goldschmidt, for example, I don't know if Lucas Giolito is necessarily big time, but he's a very good pitcher. The problem with the guy Marcus Stroman is he's a rental. A guy like Kyle Freeland, that shouldn't take you a lot to get him. I mean, if I'm looking at the pipeline right now list, I mean, can you trade just Musiotti for Freeland straight up and see what happens? See if they bite on that? Yeah, maybe you trade Christian McGowan or Andrew Baker or Jalen Ortiz, maybe. We're not giving him a major prospect for Freeland. The poll question results are interesting because a lot of you, according to the 97.3 ESPN poll, are saying, hey, just go get a fifth starter. If you are willing to trade one of these guys, you got to tell me why. Sam in Avalon chimes in, 609-403-0973. Sam checks in and says, Josh, if we want to win, I think bringing in a key piece like Goldschmidt is essential to that winning. If we are serious about winning, we have to make a move, whether it's a pitcher or a big-time hitter like Goldschmidt. We should have trade pieces like Abel to be traded now. That's Sam in Avalon. Sam, I hear what you're saying, and I tend to lean in your direction because you look at the prospects the Phillies trade away for Phllie, Roy Halladay. Almost none of those guys became anything. It's not like you gave up all these prospects, 15 years ago, and they all would have been great players. And they all would have worked out. I mean, I'm going to read off to you the guys the Phillies traded away for Phllie real quick. The Phillies traded Jason Knapp, Carlos Carrasco, Jason Donald, and Lou Marson. The only guy who really became a good ball player was Carrasco. Carrasco has a career 3.92 ERA. Very good pitcher for a few years. That was it. That was the only guy. You didn't give up some player that's going to make you regret that move. You're willing to give up a good pitcher to get a guy like Phllie years ago. I'm with Sam in Avalon. If you can get something that is tangibly, hey, this guy is going to help our team and he's going to help our team here and now, I say you make the move. I don't hold back on that. I don't worry about all the what ifs and all the stuff that goes with that. But I'm only going to do it for that. I'm not doing it for an average player or a small-time player. Matt and Kate May chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, trade the prospects, bring the pieces you need to win now. Guys like Harper don't come through your franchise very often, so you have to maximize the opportunity while he's still here. Now, here's the thing, Matt and Kate May, and I'm glad you chimed in at 609-403-0973. Here's something to ponder as we hit the break. Harper's not his best this year, but you know you have him and Trey Turner locked up basically for the rest of this decade. How much of what you acquire are you acquiring with the idea of winning just this year or winning for the next couple of years? For example, when the Phillies acquired Kyle Gibson a couple of years ago, they acquired him because they said, hey, this guy's under contract next year as well. Marcus Stroman is going to be a free agent after this year, but Goldschmidt is under contract through the end of next year. Do those scenarios change how you feel? We'll get to more of your texts a little bit later this hour. Keep it coming in. 609-403-0973 is the text board. Coming up next, U.S. Open is this weekend. We'll break it down as we are in the midst of round 2 out there at the L.A. Country Club. Josh Hennig hanging out with you on 97.3 ESPN FM and a 97.3 ESPN mobile app powered by First Bank CL.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. Mike Harlan joins me in the studio for a lively conversation on This Week in Phillies Sports. The Phillies continue their hot play and head to Oakland for a 3-game set against the A's. Hour 2, it's the Beach Patrol Report, brought to you by McCann Realtors of Sea City and the Ocean City Beach Patrol Lifeguard Alumni Association. This week, we will talk to new chief of the Ocean City Beach Patrol, Eric Becker. All that and more, it's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Are you tired of choosing between fine dining with stuffy, uptight vibes or settling for a casual meal with subpar cuisine? Hey, it's Mike Gill. Trio North Wildwood solves this dilemma by offering the perfect blend of both. Our cozy, relaxed atmosphere pairs seamlessly with chef-inspired gourmet dishes that will have our taste buds dancing. Don't sacrifice quality for comfort any longer. Book your reservations on Resi for Trio North Wildwood now. Trio North Wildwood, 700 New Jersey Avenue, North Wildwood, TrioNW.com.
Homeowners trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Business owners trust Jenkins too for light commercial services. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Call now and learn about rebates through the HVAC Energy Efficiency Program, brought to you by South Jersey Gas. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to Matt Blatt Kia. KiaNJ.com.
It's got to be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
This weekend on ESPN Radio, the rivalry continues.
Dan swings here and crushes one over the monster.
The New York Yankees storm into Fenway Park and go head-to-head with the Boston Red Sox.
Devers, back, score!
The Yankees at the Red Sox. Coverage begins tomorrow at 6:30 Eastern and Sunday at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio. Listen to Major League Baseball on 97.3 ESPN. You're listening to Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
We'll check back in on the text board. Thanks to Sam and Avalon and Matt and Kate May for chiming in here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN, being brought to you by Jenkins and Sons Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. One call does it all. 609-641-6440. I need to call multiple people to do a job. Just call Jenkins. JenkinsandSons.com. Or call them at 609-641-6440. Joining us on the phone line right now is Wes Reynolds. Of course, he is the host of the Long Shots podcast. He also covers sports betting over at VSiN, and he joins me right now here on Game Night on 97.3 ESPN. Wes, how are you doing with all this craziness going on at the U.S. Open? These scores are getting higher and higher, it seems.
Yeah, they certainly are, Josh. Thanks for having me. And look, they slowed down at least a little bit from yesterday, and especially here, I think, in this afternoon session, because now you've got the sun out and the wind picked up a little bit. But, yeah, we haven't seen those 62s like we saw yesterday from Ricky Fowler and Xander Schauffele. But Ricky Fowler off to a good start, even 3 under par on his round this afternoon, considering that he had a bogey as well. So, yeah, this is certainly playing less difficult, I think, than your average U.S. Open certainly would. There's some guys, like there always is in the U.S. Open, some guys that are not figuring it out and some guys that are very much figuring it out.
You know, when you think about this Open, like, for example, Ricky Fowler's playing right now. Rory McIlroy walked away with a 67. How surprised are you about some of these scores in the earlier rounds? Because, you know, the perception was coming into this would be more of like a, hey, guys, to pull out the bag of tricks to get in these rounds. And it seems like early on, some of these guys are having a pretty easy go of it.
Yeah, they are. I'm not necessarily surprised with the players that are at the top of the leaderboard, or certainly on the first page, but I thought that the winning score, look, and I'm always somebody, because you've been watching this for so many years, I'm always somebody that like gives the USGA the benefit of the doubt that they're going to make it difficult, and that's why I like the U.S. Open, because it is the most difficult event of the year. But I was expecting, Josh, like 6 or 7 under was going to be the winning score come Sunday night. Maybe it still will be if they really wreak havoc with the setups this weekend, but now 6 under is tied for 6 on a Friday afternoon. So I don't know if this is quite going to be like Aaron Hill's, what we saw in 2017, where he had 7 guys finish double digits under par. Brooks Koepka, of course, won the event by 5 shots. I think 16 under was the winning score. So I don't think you're going to get to that much. I think it's eventually going to stall a little bit, but this is certainly a lower scoring one than I anticipated.
Talk to me about Ricky Fowler. How is Ricky in this position, and do you think he's able to maintain this through the weekend?
I certainly hope he can, because he was one of my outright pre-tournament, but we kind of saw some real consistency with Ricky. Ricky got back with Butch Harmon, who's his longtime coach, actually based right out here in Las Vegas. Did away with all the swing changes that other swing coaches tried to make. and got back to basics. And I think that gave Ricky some comfort. And he hasn't been right in the mix to win an event yet this year. But Butch Harmon says, hey, my guy, he's going to win an event at some point because he's just putting that consistency together. He's always been a really good putter and an above-level putter on the PGA Tour, but his approaches have been good. His tee to green game has been superb. So he's finally kind of putting everything together right now. So I think that he can stay certainly near the top. I think he was number one in strokes gained putting after round one yesterday, and he's right up there near the top for strokes gained approach, which of course measures your irons. But I didn't know if it was going to come this week. I just kind of took a shot at a number in the mid-ish 50-1 range. But yeah, he's putting it together. I don't think he's coming back. I don't know if he's going to win, but I think he's going to be in the mix all the way through Sunday night.
We're talking with Wes Reynolds. Of course, he's the host of the Long Shots podcast and VSiN Live host, talking a little U.S. Open as the action is going on late into the night. Really quick, Wes, I want to ask you a little side note. How do you think this is going to go, like television-wise? Because, sometimes having one of these majors on the West Coast can kind of mess with the viewership, right?
Yeah, it does. And look, this is going to be where you guys are. This is going to go off at 11 p.m. Eastern time, right before your local newscast. So it's good for me being out here, but it gets to be late. You're kind of rubbing your eyes a little bit trying to stay up on Sunday night. But I think as long as you have exciting players and popular players like Ricky Fowler, like Rory McIlroy, like proven players, Dustin Johnson, Scotty Scheffler. If you got big names in the mix, especially if it's Ricky and Rory, two of the more popular players in the game, I think they're doing good numbers this weekend.
Now, for those who don't know, LA Country Club, I've been told the description for this club is if you turned Central City Park in New York into a golf course. That's like the equivalent of this, like being basically dropped in the middle of LA. Is that correct?
It is. It's actually right off the famous Wilshire Boulevard, just right outside of Beverly Hills. So right in the center, essentially, of Los Angeles. And they haven't played an event even here since like the 1940s. Certainly haven't had a U.S. Open. Everybody knows Riviera, which is in Pacific Palisades, just right outside of the city.
Right.
That's where they have the Genesis Invitational. Same designer of that course as is this course, but this course doesn't really play like Riviera. Riviera is much shorter. This course has a lot of different intricacies, which I thought were going to be tougher on these players, but they certainly haven't been so far.
For those who are wondering, who on earth is Wyndham Clark?
Wyndham Clark actually is a first-time winner this year on the PGA Tour. He won the Wells Fargo Championship the first weekend of May at about 75-1. And he's been a good player for a while. He's a big hitting guy off the tee. He actually doesn't live too far outside of town, lives in a suburb here in Las Vegas called Summerlin. So he's been a good player for a while. I didn't expect that he was going to be second in the U.S. Open because this is a guy that just got his first win on the PGA Tour, kind of trying to find himself to take that next step to where you're contending in a major. But he's in every bit of contention this weekend.
Now, I'll admit I am no golf expert, but one of my picks for this was Rory McIlroy. So far, he's making me look not too bad of a prognosticator. Do you think Rory has it in him to maybe win this weekend? Because it feels like he's a guy that, with all the PGA and LIV stuff, there's a lot of golf fans that seem to be really, really into seeing Rory be successful.
Yeah, Rory's on my card as well this weekend too, Josh. And it's amazing that he has not won a major since 2014. That was the PGA Championship at Valhalla Club in Louisville, Kentucky. And it's not like his game has disappeared. He's been a consistent winner all these years that he hasn't won a major. But I think he can get it done. I think he seemed to be all business this week because a lot of this stuff, a lot of this divide within the game, I think it's kind of taken an emotional toll on him because he's been really the flag bearer or the torchbearer, if you will, of the PGA Tour and defending the PGA Tour in this fight. And who knows where this is going to go over the next year or two. It seems like the story changes every day with this supposed merger or alliance or whatever you want to term it as. But I think Rory can hang in there. I like the way that he finished today because he kind of struggled on the front nine. Went down to 3 under par, then makes 5 birdies on the back, gets it in an 8 under. I was thinking, okay, if he gets it in maybe even par on the round today or 1 under, I think he's right there. But he's even better than that at 8 under par. So, yeah, I absolutely think Rory can win, and he would be arguably the most popular winner that you could find here at the U.S. Open.
Talk to me about Scotty Scheffler, because I feel like for every single tournament, he is like the betting favorite at almost every sports book. And it's like, when was the last time this guy actually like won a tournament? Like, I'm not saying he's a bad player, but he's 8 shots behind Ricky Fowler right now, and it's a weird position to be in if you're the intermediate fan, right? If you're the casual to intermediate that only watches the majors, you see Scheffler's at the top of many of these betting odds, and then he's sitting there 8 shots behind the leader.
Yeah, Scotty is the number 1 player in the world in the official world golf rankings. He's won twice this year, one at Phoenix, one at the Players Championship, of course, one at Augusta last year. The reason why he's always the favorite, aside from that world ranking, I think is because if you look at his tee to green numbers, and that's obviously off the tee, and that's your approach shots into the greens, he is by far number 1 in the world right now in terms of those metrics. The problem with Scotty is his putting just has not been there. If he putts well, he probably wins the Memorial a couple weeks ago. And if you look at what he has done this year, he has not finished worse than 12th. Aside from his 2 wins, he's got a runner-up at the PGA, tied for second, 3rd at the Memorial, 3rd at the Charles Schwab, was 4th at the Match Play, 4th at the Arnold Palmer down in Orlando. So he's had a lot of really good finishes. But yeah, he is 8 shots back, and it's tough to come back even with these low scores at a U.S. Open. So, he's going to have to get a couple, I think, this afternoon to have a real good shot in the weekend.
What is the number that you think is too far down for these guys to overcome? Like, how far back because right now, for those who don't know, Ricky Fowler's minus 11, Clark is 9 under, McIlroy's 8 under, Schauffele is 8 under. So, like, after those guys, how far down the list do you say, if you're beyond this number, I don't think this guy is going to make it into the running here?
Well, yesterday, of course, 8 under par was the leader after round 1. And if you go back to 1970, 85% of the U.S. Open winners were within 5 shots of the lead after round 1. So that would have made 3 under the cutoff going into the weekend. But Ricky is at 11. Look, 9 under's in the clubhouse. So let's assume that 9 under is actually the leader. Let's assume Clark's number holds up and maybe somebody ties him, and that's the number going into the weekend. I think you got to be within probably about 5 shots. I just think that I don't know how much more difficult they can make this on the weekend. Certainly they can make it a little bit more difficult, but they're going to be totally reliant on the wind. And the wind looks relatively benign, relatively good scoring conditions. So you can't be too far back. This is still a U.S. Open, and it is really hard to come back from that deep in the pack.
Yeah, it's just a shame because you look down the list, you see a guy like John Rahm, he's playing right now. He's at 2 under, and it's like, hey, he's making progress, but like, unless a guy like him or like even Bryson DeChambeau, unless they make some serious damage here today, I just don't see, me, I'm not the expert like you are, Wes, but like for me, I look at it as like, can that guy mathematically even be in the running anymore?
Yeah, you don't want too many guys that just to kind of be in between you and the leader, but I think maybe 5, maybe even 6 shots is reasonable, but at like 2 under, that's not going to be good enough considering you got a leader at 11 under par. So yeah, you got to pick up some on the back 9, even though the front 9 was the easier scoring, at least for the top guys yesterday. There were several guys, including Ricky and Schauffele and Rory McIlroy, that shot 30 on the front 9. So that seems to be where you want to take advantage.
Who's the guy that has surprised you who has not played better?
Patrick Cantlay. Patrick Cantlay, who I think is going to make the cut on the number. I think it looks like 2 over is going to be safe to make the cut, but I really thought he would play better. He's obviously based in Southern California. He typically plays well on the West Coast. This guy is number 4 in the official world golf rankings, but he's never really been quite in contention, at least since 2019 at the PGA, right there for a major, whether he gets it done or just comes short. And yet again, Patrick Cantlay at 2 over par, no chance, obviously can move up the standings with some good rounds on the weekend, but really no chance to win. And he just continues to be a disappointment in majors.
Which is more surprising, Dustin Johnson 6 under or Koepka being at even?
I think maybe Dustin Johnson actually being at 6 under. I know a lot of people back Brooks because he did just win the PGA, and it kind of like, okay, Brooks is back, to win in majors again that he hadn't done for a couple of years due to his injuries, due to some of the mental blocks that he discussed in the Netflix series Full Swing. But I just didn't necessarily love him on this course, and he doesn't necessarily seem to love this course based on his comments, which are kind of ironic considering he once won a U.S. Open at 16 under par, which arguably was the easiest course ever for a U.S. Open at Erin Hills just 6 years ago. So, yeah, I'm not surprised necessarily that maybe Brooks isn't right there. I thought his price got a little short. I was seeing him at like 11 or 12 to 1. And I thought, that was being a little bit of a prisoner of the moment because bettors oftentimes like to bet what they see last. And what did they see last? They saw him winning the PGA up at Oak Hill in Rochester.
By the way, for those who may be wondering, Scotty Scheffler just missed a par putt, so he just went from 3 under to 2 under. So
that's the story with Scotty Scheffler that we were talking about.
Yep.
Just the putting woes have really, I think, kept him from winning more. He's won 2 already this year. He's had a successful season, but he could have 4 or 5 wins if his putting was better.
Yeah, I mean, he looks like me on the mini golf, just
right.
putting it right past the hole and like, hey, that looks good. No, it's not. It's going right past the hole. Like, come on, like you're a professional golfer. You got to be better than me.
Yeah, he's fighting it right now with the flat stick because he's such a good driver of the golf ball. His irons are top notch, but you got to be able to make putts, especially at a U.S. Open.
He's Wes Reynolds. You can give him a follow on Twitter at Wes Reynolds1. Check out the Long Shots podcast. And, of course, he is hosting on VSiN tonight, Monday through Friday. Wes, I appreciate you jumping on with me tonight. Enjoy the rest of the golf. Like you said, it's going to be a late night for us on the East Coast, but it's okay because the Phillies are actually in Oakland. So for those of us who are going to watch those late nights, we're already caffeinated up. So
you bet, Josh. Thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
Josh Hennick here on gameNight 97.3 ESPN. Of course, our conversation with Wes Reynolds being brought to you by Jenkins & Sons. One call does it all. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Just call Jenkins & Sons Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning at 609-641-6440 and visit them online at jenkinsandsons.com. All right, so we got Jeff in Ocean City. We got Steve in Ventnor, George in Summers Point. All your texts coming up next here on Game Night with me, Josh Hennick, hanging out with you on a Friday night on 97.3 ESPN.
The 2023 Phillies baseball season is here.
Got him looking, strike 3. Fastball, 97 miles per hour, dotted that outside corner. 8th strikeout of the game for Zach Wheeler.
And you can get the best Phillies coverage every day on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill.
Kimbrel looking for back-to-back saves. The pitch, got him swinging, strike 3.
Can the Phillies make a return to the World Series? Tune in every day to find out and listen to what our Phillies insider Frank Close has to say. Tuesdays with the Phillies mailbag, when he answers your Phillies questions. And every day with Mike Gill on the Sports Bash on 97.3 ESPN.
1-1 pitch on the way. Swung on, lifted into right field. A Phllie will get down into right. Turner rounding first, going to second. He'll dive in head first safely. An RBI double for Trey Turner.
South Jersey's home for the best Philadelphia Phillies baseball coverage.
Homeowners trust Jenkins Plumbing, Heating, and Air Conditioning. Business owners trust Jenkins, too, for light commercial services. No need to call the drain guy, the heater guy, or the plumbing guy. Call Jenkins. One call does it all. For new heating and air installation, service and maintenance, ductless air conditioning systems, water heaters, boilers, oil service, plumbing, and drain cleaning services. Call now and learn about rebates through the HVAC Energy Efficiency Program, brought to you by South Jersey Gas. Call 609-641-6262 or visit jenkinsandsons.com.
Hey, it's Mike Gill. Trio North Wildwood is where casual elegance meets delectable dining. Experience the perfect blend of comfortable atmosphere and gourmet cuisine. Savor our chef-inspired dishes made with the freshest ingredients, featuring options for all tastes. Treat yourself to a night out at Trio North Wildwood and indulge in the ultimate dining experience. Reservations on Resi. Don't miss out on the taste sensation that is Trio North Wildwood. 700 New Jersey Avenue, North Wildwood. Chef-driven, quality-focused, TrioNW.com.
At the Home Depot, we take Father's Day seriously. Why not get doing and give Dad a gift card that gets him out of the house and into new projects? Because the dads who do the most deserve the most, whether he's into woodworking, yard work, or grilling up something for the family. A Home Depot gift card gives your dad the power to get everything he needs to keep doing the most. Shop today for a gift that powers Dad at the Home Depot. How doers get more done.
Why would someone looking for a mortgage at the Jersey Shore take a loan from a company in Detroit or North Carolina or some other far-off place? Online mortgages promise a lot but don't always deliver. First Bank of Sea Isle City knows the Jersey Shore. We are local lenders. We use local appraisers and provide in-house processing. We understand the unique obstacles of financing in Cape May County. Don't take a chance. Local banking is better. Let us guide you. First Bank of Sea Isle City.
Member FDIC, equal housing lender. Save thousands at Matt Blatt Kia. Get out of your old trade today, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Go to mattblattkianj.com for more details. That's mattblattkianj.com.
It's gotta be a
Matt Blatt Kia.
With the 7th pick, the Denver Nuggets select Jamal Murray.
With the 41st pick, the Denver Nuggets select Nikola Jokic.
23 NBA Draft. Coverage begins Thursday at 7 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN. The NBA Draft, exclusively on 97.3 ESPN FM. Now, more Game Night with Josh Hennig on 97.3 ESPN and the free mobile app.
As I was saying before, I mean, you're going to get the Phillies playing Oakland tonight. That's a 9:40 first pitch. You know, just flip back and forth between the Phillies and the golf tonight. Why not? Probably what I'm going to do. I wake up tomorrow for Billy Schwein in the locker room. So, can I watch the Phillies? Might as well watch some of the golf tonight. I think, like Wes Reynolds was saying, the problem is going to be Sunday night. Sunday night's going to be the real key because if you don't have a good lineup out there, if you don't have some good drama, those ratings might take a hit. They really might. I mean, that's what I was asking about the leaderboard because, you know, for a lot of people, watching a sport like golf comes down to name recognition. It comes down to what do you think is going to draw people to the television? And the problem with that way of thinking is that Wyndham Clark, Harris English, Win Woo Lee, and guys like that are just not drawing people in. Ricky Fowler, people are interested. Xander Schauffele, people are interested. Roy McIlroy, people are very interested. Justin Johnson, people are intrigued. If you're like an intermediate to like diehard golf fan, Sam Bennett being in the running, that's interesting. Same thing with Cam Smith. If you're more of a casual to intermediate, Bryson DeChambeau, that might interest you. But if John Rahm can't make a go of this, and if you're going into the final pairing with Fowler and Clark, and then the second final pairing is Schauffele and McIlroy, you have a chance to keep the viewers. But if that final pairings are Ricky Fowler, Wyndham Clark, and then Xander Schauffele and Harris English, ooh, that's going to be a bad ratings night for golf. And right now, with all this garbage going on with the PGA, LIV, and everything, you know, they got to have some concern about their long-term viability because at the end of the day, golf has always been a niche sport. Golf has always been a little more like MMA. Like, I love MMA. I watch UFC. I watch PFL. I watch Bellator. I know a lot of the people who cover these things. I know a lot of the fighters. But I'm also aware that for the average person who's watching these sports, unless there's someone with name recognition, you don't care. You just don't care. And it's not to be mean. Look, UFC has a fight night tomorrow night. Not a pay-per-view, but like a regular fight night, okay? And the main event is Marvin Vettori versus Jared Cannonier. Now, if you are a diehard fan like me, you think that's a really cool match. If you're the intermediate fan, you know who Vettori is, you might know who Cannonier is, but you're probably not going out of your way to tune in. And then you see the rest of the card, and you start looking at the card, and like I said, if you are the casual fan, you're saying, I don't know him, I don't know him, I don't know him, I don't know him, all the way down the line. Now, if you're someone who knows Pat Sabatini, because he's a local guy, you might tune in for him. But it's not a great card. It's not a card that's going to draw the casual to intermediate fan in. And frankly, next week's card's even worse. Josh Emmett versus Ilya Tuporia. Nobody knows who those guys are unless you are a diehard, really into UFC kind of guy or woman, whoever you are. Now, you might know who the co-main event is, Amanda Ribas versus Macy Barber, if you're a person who watches all the pay-per-views. But, it's not a card that gets you that deep into it. And that's why I compare golf to. To me, golf is a similar deal where if the casual to intermediate fan is not invested, they're going to be out. Right now, if you are NBC, right, the golf events could be on NBC all weekend. You're hoping that Rory McIlroy stays in that top 4. You need him up there because right now, Wyndham Clark is a great story, but he might not be great for viewership. He might not be great for ratings because if it's 10 o'clock, 9 o'clock at night, and you got to wake up at 6, 7 o'clock the next day for work, are you really staying up to watch Wyndham Clark potentially win the U.S. Open? Are you staying up? I mean, maybe you have money on Xander Schauffele, but I don't know how many people that even know who Xander Schauffele is outside of the diehards and the people who watch these events week in and week out. Harris English, Minwoo Lee, Sam Bennett, Charlie Hoffman sounds like a pitcher for the Oakland A's or something. You don't know who some of these names are, so it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Just saying. All right, back to the text board, 609-403-0973. George in Summers Point chimes in, says, hey, Josh, trading prospects in baseball is like trading draft picks in the NFL. It's always a crapshoot. I would be in favor of trading any of the prospects in the Philly system that someone would take. In fact, I would trade even Nola for Goldschmidt if the Cardinals would take him. Let me know what you think. Thanks as always, George, Summers Point. Well, first of all, the Nola thing is definitely the Nola thing is interesting because they don't have a contract extension with him yet. How do we balance between staying loyal to your guys and eventually saying, I can't overpay for you? Like, the reason why they let Zach Eflin go was for 2 reasons. One, because Eflin was not happy coming out of the bullpen last year, and the Phillies basically were not hardcore committed to him being a starter moving forward. And the second reason they let him go was because he got an offer from Tampa that Philly was not willing to offer him. And I know for a lot of people, they look at Eflin and they say, hey, he looked really good for the Phillies right now. The problem is, what you don't know, because you're not watching Tampa all the time, is that Eflin has been up and down in his last 5 starts. His last start, he gave up 4 earned runs. Start before that, he gave up none. Start before that, 3. Before that, none. Sorry, 1. Before that, 3. Are you willing to give that guy big money? Look, historically for the Phillies, he has not been healthy. That was a huge reason where the Phillies hang up on him. He's having the best year of his career right now. How much of that is because he's pitching in Tampa? How much of that is because he's healthy? I don't know. So the Nola thing is interesting, George Summers' point, because if you're the Phillies, do you look at Nola as, hey, this guy's a staple of our rotation. We cannot trade him under any circumstances. Or do you say, hey, this guy's going to be a free agent. He's 30 years old. He is statistically having a down year compared to what he's done in the past, right? He still has fewer strikes and innings pitched this year. If this trend continues, it'll be the first time it's happened to him since 2015. Do you look at Nola and say, we couldn't get a contract extension done, we will include him in a deal to get somebody we know will be here beyond this year? It's a very valid question, George Summers' point. The other part is, I'm with you on the prospects. I'm not against trading prospects unless I know the guy is going to be really good. You know, Mickey Moniak was playing so poorly. He was so bad that you had to move on from him. You had to cut bait. So you could argue that, okay, well, he's playing better for the Angels than he was at Philadelphia. What did we miss? Well, maybe we'll just change the scenery. Same with Brandon Marsh. Brandon Marsh is like a different hitter with the Phillies than he was with the Angels. You know, people are so happy with Brandon Marsh because he's going out there. He's playing good defense. He's got 27 RBI. But you look at his last 2 seasons with the Angels. For his career with the Angels, his batting average was .239. His career average with the Phillies is .272. That's a huge jump. Huge jump. This guy went from being a guy that you could not, you could not depend on as a hitter to a guy who's a legitimate threat as a hitter now. This guy went basically up 40, 50% in his on base, not 40, 50 points in his on base percentage. His slugging percentage is up over 100 points. So, who am I to say that you should have kept Mickey Moniak? Because who knows, it would have turned into anything here. Sometimes you just got to move on. You got to let it be and let these guys grow somewhere else if they can't grow here. Steven Ventnor chimes in at 609-403-0973. He says, I wouldn't trade any of the top 5 to 10 prospects unless it was for a controllable player, not for a rental who will be a free agent. I would try to package a couple second-tier prospects for a rotation arm, Simon Muzziotti and Francisco Morales for Lucas Giolito. The Sox might be interested by Muzziotti's hot start. Morales is a good former top prospect. Seems logical to me. Steven Ventnor. Steve, I like the way you're thinking. I think Muzziotti is going to be a great piece. Frank Close mentioned him yesterday when he joined us, and I kind of got the feeling that Muzziotti's hot bat is going to come into play somewhere along the way. For part of a deal, a team's going to want to maybe get him up to the major league level, see what he can do. Jeff in Ocean City chimes in and says, I think the Phillies need more pitching. We have enough hitters. I think a lot of people feel like you do, Jeff. Well, that poll was so slanted for the pitching and not for the hitter. Look, I'm not saying they don't need another right-handed hitter. I'm not saying that at all. But if I have a chance, unless I'm getting Paul Goldschmidt, I don't need C.J. Cron necessarily. Frankly, you probably get C.J. Cron for the cheap and just platoon him with Cody Clemens at this point. Where's Jeff Conine when you need him? Remember him? Jeff Conine would be like the perfect guy for this Phillies team. Thanks everybody for listening. I'm Josh Hennig. This is Game Night. I'll be hanging out with Billy Schwein tomorrow morning in the locker room here on 97.3 ESPN.
Saturday morning in the locker room with Billy Schwein. Mike Carlin joins me in the studio for a lively conversation on This Week in Philly Sports. The Phillies continue their hot play and head to Oakland for a 3-game set against the A's. Hour 2, it's the Beach Patrol Report, brought to you by McCann Realtors of Sea Isle City and the Ocean City Beach Patrol Lifeguard Alumni Association. This week, we will talk to new chief of the Ocean City Beach Patrol, Eric Becker. All that and more, it's the locker room with Billy Schwein, Saturday morning from 10 a.m. to noon on 97.3 ESPN.